All right, welcome into a new episode of BSP Sunday Morning Fantasy. We are the guys from backsportspage.com, just a few. We've got such a great cast of writers up there. Make sure you're checking out everything going up on a daily basis at backsportspage.com. I am your host, Ryan Stern. Joined with me, as always, Marthani Sanders. And joining us this week, Nate Pawali. How are you guys this morning?
Doing fine,
Doing,
Ryan. Good to
yeah,
be
doing pretty
back.
good.
My goodness. This is we're now going into week 10, and we're gonna we have four quarterbacks on bye, and now it looks like we're gonna have Kyler Murray not playing. Looks like we're gonna have Matt Stafford not playing, and now we have no idea what the hell is going on with Josh Allen. Right now, as of right now, it is just after 12 o'clock Eastern. We're less than 1 hour from kickoff, and Josh Allen's officially active, but he is not warming up on the field as of yet, according to Adam Schefter. Guys, we were talking right before we jumped on. My main league that I've commissioned for a dozen years is the only league that I have any shares of Josh Allen. And my pivot option from him is going to be Davis Mills. I'm going to throw it to you, Marthani. We've obviously heard very little about this whole Josh. The Buffalo Bills have been very tight-lipped this entire week. Overnight, it came out that it didn't seem like it was going to, like, if he played, that there was going to be any more damage that was going to occur. What are you feeling? Is this an ultimate smokescreen, or is this something that we really have to fear as fantasy players, that we're going to be worried about Josh Allen playing?
Well, optimistically, you want to say that it is a smokescreen. That's your best bet to hope that it is a smokescreen and that he is okay and that he can go. Um, However, it's on the throwing arm, that elbow injury, and when you hear all the different outlets or reports that's been coming out and the different analysts who've played the quarterback position, they're saying this is a serious injury to where this could linger out, for the rest of the season. So this is like kind of like treading on dangerous territory, trying to figure out what to actually do with Josh Allen from here on out, because I mean they've already had their bye week, so
Yeah.
that's come and gone. So it's a very sticky situation just to try to figure out if it really is a smoke screen or is it something that's very serious.
Yeah, Nate, what are your thoughts on the whole Josh Allen thing with today?
Well, sometimes that ulnar collateral ligament, which is what Josh Allen injured last week in that loss against the Jets, it's something that you often see in baseball where you see it repaired with Tommy John surgery. So, with the way that, and they're hoping that it's not quite as severe as the same UCL injury that he sustained during his rookie season back in 2018. And from what I saw, I mean, it's almost kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't,
Yeah.
whether you say something or not.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess the fact that you have all of these other quarterbacks, I mean, it's not like you really want to pivot. So here I am. I have Davis Mills, who obviously has not been one of those elite quarterbacks or someone that you're excited about
No.
playing. But in a superflex league where all starting quarterbacks are rostered, you're either giving up other options in trade, or you're going out and
Uh-oh, I think you're frozen, Ryan.
the All right. Am I back? I think I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
Gonna deal with this again.
Boy.
All right. I think I'm here. All right. Right. Davis Mills. There are worse ways you can go. I mean, look at what the Tennessee Titans have had to deal with over the past couple weeks with Malik Willis. It's not exciting, but it's sort of safe.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is a good point.
And then it's like, I mean, I mean, not trying to like, I guess, downplay the game. It's a big game between them and Buffalo, obviously, because these are both contenders in each respective conferences. But I also think Case Keenum is. I feel like he's reliable enough for one game at least. I mean, to kind of whether to figure out how serious as it is or whatnot. But I understand Josh Allen is a warrior and he wants to be out there on the football field. So it's just. It's a lot of variables and not enough answers, pretty much.
Right. So if it's your decision, I'm not going to say how I'm gonna. I still have a little bit of time to make a decision, but if you have to make the decision, throwing this back out to either one of you, you playing Davis Mills or are you picking up Case Keenum and playing him instead? That's where I am. That's where I am right now.
I would lean towards Davis Mills more because I remember last year when Case Keenum had to fill in for Baker Mayfield when the Browns were playing the Broncos on Thursday Night Football, and Keenum really didn't throw the ball much. It was a surprise breakout game for one Dearness Johnson, but times have changed, and Keenum will provide some solid veteran experience, but I don't know how well he's going to gel with Stephon Diggs and the rest of the Buffalo receiving core, so I would lean more towards Davis Mills.
Well, I mean, you do have they played together in Minnesota, so there's that. I think Stephon
Diggs. True.
I think Diggs would be the one player I would have confidence in playing in the receiving core from Buffalo. But I'm probably staying away from Gabe Davis, staying away from Dawson Knox, staying away from Isaiah McKenzie. One player that actually then really pops up as a prominent play to me is Nyheim Hines. I think the pickup of him, and I think Singletary is going to get the majority of the carries, but Nyheim Hines could be the number 2 receiver for Buffalo this week. Should it, and even if it is Josh Allen, what if they're going to tell Josh Allen, don't be pushing the ball downfield? If you're going to get those little dump off passes, Nyheim Hines in a PPR is going to, I think, has a real opportunity to put up points this week.
I think the question is now, though, I guess at that point, regardless of who is starting at quarterback, whether it is Josh Allen or Keenum, will Buffalo try to run the ball more? I mean, because sometimes they get so selfish of not wanting to run the ball with the running backs that they have. It's kind of almost tempting to want to take Keenum because they're going to throw it because they just don't run the ball that well outside of like there's I think Josh Allen is their leading rusher still again this year. So it's hard.
Look at the last 4 weeks of the regular season last year, and you had a top 10 running back in Devin Singletary because they actually committed to running the ball on a consistent basis. This is a team that can run the ball. They just choose not to because of Josh Allen. So hopefully some news breaks over the next 45 minutes, and I have time to make a lineup change. But for everyone tuning in, if you have any lineup questions, shoot them in the comments. Whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, shoot them in the comments. Any lineup questions, we will answer them live on air. So, fellas, let's get into our first segment of picks, and that is going to be our best bets. And there are, I was going through a lot of the lines last night, and because of all of the quarterback situations, I like a lot of unders this week. But let's see what everyone else has. So, Nate, why don't you give us your first best bet of the week?
Sure. So for my first best bet game, I'm looking at the 1 o'clock slate this afternoon, and I'm looking at your Giants game going up against the Houston Texans this afternoon, Ryan. And I believe I saw it was the Giants as a 6.5 point favorite when I checked ESPN this morning.
It was at least on DraftKings, it was 4 this morning.
So I'm going with the Giants on that line.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants should win this game. This should be a game, and for a 6-2 team to be playing a 1-6-1 team at home and it only being a 4-point line doesn't happen all that often. This could be a trap game, but I just don't see the Texans being able to consistently stop Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones on the ground. I think the two of them combined for over 200 yards rushing today. So, yeah, I think the Giants can control the clock in this game. Marthani, what you got for your first one?
All right, so I'm actually going to make an audible here real quick. Originally, I was going with the Vikings and the Bills to hit over at 42, but not knowing what's going on with Josh Allen, and I think they moved the line up to like 46 last time I checked. So
last I saw it was 45.
Okay,
again, it also depends on what site you're looking at. I use DraftKings,
yeah. I think I saw 46 some at one point, but too much going on with that game, so I'm gonna go to the Steelers and the Saints. The line I think is at some got it at 39, some got it at 40. I'm right there with you, Ryan. I see a lot of unders this week. Just maybe outside of a couple of games where the over could possibly hit, I see a lot of unders. So I'm gonna go with the under between the Saints and the Steelers. Obviously, the Saints are struggling to really move the ball outside of like maybe Chris Olave from here and there. There's no real production going on right there. And then obviously we know what the Steelers have been dealing with all season. I just think it's going to be a low-scoring game in that one, so I'm going to go with the under between the Saints and the Steelers.
Yeah, so my my first one is going to be an under as well. I got it yesterday at 41.5. It's already moved all the way down to 38.5, and that's the Rams Cardinals. So right now my 41.5 is looking awfully nice considering Vegas is expecting the point total to keep going down. But even at 38.5, you'd have a tough time to get me to take the over in that. I mean, you have Colt McCoy against John Wolford, and you have on the other side of the ball two of the top 7 defenses in the league so far this year. The Cardinals surprisingly have been, especially over the last 4 games, have been a top 5 defense in the league. They've been able to shut down. Byron Murphy has become a shutdown corner on the outside. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he shadows Kupp, because they move Kupp all the way, all around the field. Whether or not he shadows him or just stays with him on the outside, that'll be interesting. But you got 2 backup quarterbacks going up against 2 defenses that are playing really well right now. So I'm taking the under in the Rams-Cardinals game. Nate, what do you got for your second one?
For my second best bet, I had the Packers and the Cowboys. That's going to be the big national game at 4:25 this afternoon. I saw on ESPN this morning that the over-under line was going to be 44 points. I am going to be taking the over for that game.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because, man, these Packers, this is something that we really need to talk about, especially from a fantasy point of view. There really aren't a whole lot of options on the Packers that you can trust at any position. Maybe the one that I think you can trust the most right now is Alan Lazard, just because of volume. There's not a whole lot of upside because they're just not getting in scoring range all that often. But Alan Lazard, with Romeo Dobbs out, with Randall Cobb out, Christian Watson is going to play, but he's coming off a concussion. Aaron Jones was in a walking boot for most of this week. He's expected to play, but we don't know what his status actually is. A.J. Dillon hasn't been effective. The Packers are a really weird team this year, especially for fantasy, because you always expect something from Aaron Rodgers. And they said for the first time in his career, he's at least a 4-point dog at home.
Wow.
I mean, he obviously can go off at any time. That game would worry the hell out of me. Marthani, what you got for your second one?
I'm going right there in the same game with the Packers and the Cowboys, and like you said, the 4-point dog that Green Bay is with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, in other cases, I would probably take that to get the points on it, but I'm gonna go with Dallas to cover that, just because we just mentioned too. Just nobody who can you trust that to Aaron Rodgers to get for, and it's amazing that it's like that, because I in the beginning of before the season started, I know like all the changes was going on, and I kind of thought that 12 could be okay to where he could get something going and they'll be all right, but at this point, I mean, no one can be trusted. The injuries are piling up. It's just not looking good for Green Bay. So I would take Dallas on the points.
Yeah, I like Dallas on the points also. Another, and my final best bet of the week is going to be at Soldier Field. Right now, the Bears, as of this morning, shockingly, it was only they're 2.5-point favorites. We're going to talk about this game in our first segment of studs and sleepers. But after the bye week, the Bears sort of unlocked something, especially in Justin Fields. They went from a team that you couldn't start the quarterback, you couldn't start any wide receiver, you couldn't start tight end because he had 8 targets through the first 4 games of the year. They were just a team that you could not start any piece. Montgomery but you had to hold your breath sometimes with Montgomery. Now Justin Fields is an absolute must start. I'm sure that if you did a redraft right now, Justin Fields probably goes in the top 5 of all quarterbacks in a redraft setting. Then you can probably get away with starting both Montgomery and Khalil Herbert in a flex spot, because he's been incredibly efficient with his touches. Montgomery's still seeing 70% of the snaps, but Khalil Herbert has been more effective with the touches that he receives. Darnell Mooney, you can start. I think eventually you'll be able to start Chase Claypool with the trade that they made. I don't know if I'd start him yet. And Cole Kmet over the last 3 weeks has reestablished himself as a tight end one in this league. So um, it's only 2.5. The Lions just have not been able to impress you very much over their last couple games. I hammered that 2.5 point coverage for the Bears. All right, so we are going to move on right now to our studs, and sleepers. Again, if you have any lineup questions, make sure you send them in. Again, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, send them in the comments. If you're watching on Twitter, tweet them over to us at Backsports page, and you can find our Twitter handles on the bottom of the screen. All right, let's head over to our studs, and as always, we start off with our quarterbacks. Nate, who are you going to start us off with?
I'm going to go with a guy that I mentioned a couple of times last time I was here back in week 4. I'm picking Trevor Lawrence as my stud quarterback, mainly because when I did some research via ESPN Fantasy, Kansas City's given up the 8th most points against quarterbacks in fantasy to this point in the season, and their secondary hasn't exactly been great, I should say, especially after the departure of Rashad Fenton. So I kind of see Lawrence going off for a big day against a depleted Kansas City secondary.
Yeah, and you know that the Chiefs are going to score their points. Jacksonville's going to have to try and keep up in some fashion. And as great as Travis Etienne has been over the past couple weeks, I don't think that they're going to be able to grind the clock out against Kansas City the way that they have been over the past couple weeks. So Trevor Lawrence should definitely be able to put up some points, especially in garbage time. Fourth quarter, he may see second stringers against him. So I do like Lawrence this week. Marthani, who you got?
My stud quarterback for this week, I'm going with Dak Prescott. Going up against that Green Bay Packers defense. Obviously Prescott is still trying to get back into the flow of things. Coming off that thumb injury, and he had a pretty nice game against Chicago. And then now coming off the bye week, so even more time to heal and get back into the swing of things. The Packers lost their top pass rusher, Rashawn Gary's out for the season with the torn ACL. I'm not sure if Eric Stokes is going to play. I think he's out too. So the Packers defense is just depleted. And Dak Prescott usually does well after a bye week. I just think that he'll have another good all-around game again this week against a depleted Packers defense.
Yeah, Dak. I've actually been trying to unload Dak in a couple leagues that I have him in because they have a pretty tough back half of the schedule in terms of defenses they are going to be seeing. So I'm hoping Dak goes off this week, so it makes it a little easier to push him off in trade. So I'm gonna go with Justin Fields again. It's crazy. Justin Fields, I didn't even realize he's the number 3 most expensive quarterback in the main slate on FanDuel this week, and on DraftKings. Number 3. Last week he comes off a record-breaking performance where he breaks Michael Vick's single game rushing record for a quarterback. Yeah. Over 170 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's a cheat code. He was the quarterback 1 on the week while throwing for 123 yards and a touchdown. That just goes to show you the cheat code that rushing quarterbacks are. And like I said, after the bye week, the Bears have unlocked something in that offense, and it's working. So I'm going to keep riding the hot hand. In the one bigger league that I have Justin Fields, I'm playing him over Tua, and Tua's got a wonderful matchup this week. I'm just right now. Justin Fields is an absolute must start. So let's go over to running backs. Nate, who you got?
I'm sticking with Jamal Williams, the Lions running back, against on the road at Chicago, mainly because, for one, the Bears' front seven isn't all that noteworthy, and I should also note that with DeAndre Swift kind of getting back into a little bit of a flow, you could expect a few less touches for Williams, but he's really kind of cemented himself as one of the head pieces of the Lions' offensive attack this season.
Yeah, he leads all running backs in rushing touchdowns so far. He's become a must start just because of his safety. I mean, if they get in the red zone, he's the guy they go to. There isn't a whole lot of upside because I think still between the 20s, I think you're still going to see the majority of the time that being DeAndre Swift. But once you get inside that red zone, they just rely on him so much, and he's really safe. Marthani, who you got?
My stud running back for this week, I'm going with, we mentioned him before, David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Lions defense have given up the second most rushing touchdowns so far this season. And then even you mentioned even Khalil Herbert, you can probably put him into a flex because they do allow two. It's been plenty of times where they've allowed two running backs to at least get about 10 to 12 PPR points in each of those leagues. So this should be a game to where David Montgomery gets off and have a pretty good game against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. David Montgomery has been the one consistent producer for that offense all year long. And the matchup right now is great. Got breaking news, which is making me really happy. Josh Allen is on the field, warming up, and he's taking snaps from the starting center, Mitchell Morse. So it looks like Josh Allen is going to be playing. I would still be cautious.
Right.
It makes me not have to start Davis Mills, but it's not like I'm going out there and saying, all right, I'm going to get QB1 Josh Allen like I can go into any other week. I'm still reserved, but I don't have to make that decision between him and Davis Mills. If I had someone like a Trevor Lawrence, I'd probably be playing Trevor Lawrence over Josh Allen just because of safety. But Josh Allen is going to be playing this week. My stud running back of the week, and it's crazy that we now have to talk about this guy as being a potential stud, and that's Jonathan Taylor. the 101 of fantasy drafts is now a surprise stud of the week. I think what a week this was for the Colts, man.
Right.
First, you get the shocking news that Frank Reich gets the axe. And I'm sorry, but Frank Reich is good enough to be a coach for 25 NFL teams. Right, literally this second, he should be a head coach on 25 NFL teams. And then the whole Jeff Saturday, and bringing in Jeff Saturday as the head coach, where he has 0 college, 0 NFL head coaching experience. His last head coaching experience was in 2020 with his son's high school team that went 3-7.
Jeez.
But there's a big difference between trying to get the most out of high schoolers and trying to get the most out of pros. The main issue for the Indianapolis Colts this year has been the offensive line. They went from being a top 3 offensive line over the past 2 years to being a bottom 10 offensive line this year. Jeff Saturday is going to just by him being there, being able to work. I mean, he was Peyton Manning center for over a decade. The dude, and he's spent enough time on ESPN as an analyst to know where issues lie. He's going to just him being there is going to help out this offensive line immensely. I also think that because they're bringing in Saturday, and this is again, if you are in a 2-quarterback league, Superflex league, you have an open bench spot, stash Matt Ryan, because I think they're going to end up going back to Matt Ryan. I think the Sam Ehlinger experience has not gone well.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance that even during this game, we see them go back to Matt Ryan. But Jonathan Taylor, I think Jeff Saturday is going to get the offensive line fixed. Jonathan Taylor back to being an RB1 this week. Nate, we're going to go over to the wide receivers now. So who you got?
Now, this is one that I think Marthani is going to disagree with me on a little bit later, but for my stud wide receiver, I'm also looking at that Colts-Raiders game, and I'm going with Michael Pittman Jr., especially considering that the Raiders cut Jonathan Abram earlier this week, so they lost a big piece of their secondary, and
he's stuck anyway.
And Pittman is due for a big game. I don't think he's had really a huge production week
he has
at any point this
he
season.
has, I think, one wide receiver 1 finish on the year, and I think only one other wide receiver 2 finish on the year. He's finished outside the top 24 the rest of the season so far.
So yeah, I think he's due for a big game this week.
Yeah, the matchup is there. I would feel a hell of a lot more confident if it were Matt Ryan throwing him the ball. But the Raiders defense is just giving up fantasy points to every single position on the field. It's gonna have to come in terms of volume, because I just don't see them being able to get into any type of passing rhythm on a consistent basis with Sam Ehlinger. Again, if Matt Ryan ends up coming in at any point during the game, Michael Pittman has the chance to blow up because of this matchup. So Marthani, who you got?
My stud wide receiver, I'm going with we already mentioned his quarterback with Trevor Lawrence, and I'm gonna go with Christian Kirk. You know, for a minute, he was looking like, they in Jaguars invested the right money in him, and then he had those weeks to where he kind of just like fell off the face of the earth. We were trying to figure out where's Christian Kirk, but they, he had like some tough defensive matchups. And I just think, like you mentioned earlier on, I just think that Jacksonville is going to be chasing points. So I feel like they're going to be throwing the ball more. I think this is going to be more of a passing game more than trying to run the ball with Travis Etienne and try to slow the game down. Kansas City already went through that last week with Tennessee with Derrick Henry. I don't think they will allow that again 2 weeks in a row. So I think that just because of the fact that their volume is going to be there, they're going to be trying to catching points, that Christian Kirk can have a pretty decent game this week. And, Kansas City secondary, like we mentioned earlier, isn't that great. So he should have a pretty decent game this week.
Yeah, and Christian Kirk has had a very quiet, really good fantasy season so far.
Yeah.
The touchdowns haven't always been there, but he's just been really consistent and outproduced his ADP as of so far. I'm going to stay in the same game, and I know that this is one guy that you and I we're battling over because we both wanted him. I'm going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster. The running game just isn't there for Kansas City. They they don't care about running the ball. I mean, one, they don't need to because they have Patrick Mahomes. But a lot of what they're doing in the passing game, they have different aspects of the passing game that can beat you. One is the sort of passing game that is their version of a run game. And that's what Juju Smith-Schuster has feasted on so far this year. His ADOT, his average depth of target, is one of the lowest in the NFL this year. But they're scheming so well and finding space to get him the ball near the line of scrimmage and allowing him to do what he does best, and that's make plays with his pure athleticism. He's been over 100 yards the past 2 weeks. He's been a top 15 wide receiver 5 weeks already this season. I don't see that stopping anytime soon, or at least this week. So I got Juju Smith-Schuster as my stud wide receiver. All right, wrapping up studs, let's go over to the tight ends. Nate, who you got?
I am going with TJ Hawkinson of the Vikings as my stud tight end against the Bills. He had a pretty good game last week, debuting in the purple and gold, and Buffalo doesn't seem to do well defending the tight end, at least from what I've seen. So I think Hawkinson will see quite a few targets coming in from Kirk Cousins, and I think he could see a touchdown or two come his way this week.
Yeah, it's funny because Buffalo is the 9th best team against tight ends, but that's where they get beat the most. They don't get beat by the quarterbacks. They don't get beat by the running backs. They don't get beat by the wide receivers. The Bills have allowed 4 times this year tight ends to finish in the top 14. And right now, I mean, TJ Hawkinson, and when you get traded mid-season, you always worry about the chemistry early on. First game, 9 targets, 9 receptions. He obviously seems like somebody that Kirk Cousins already has a lot of trust in. Adam Thielen was questionable throughout most of the week. He's going to play, but yeah, TJ Hawkinson should be a lock. Marthani, who you got?
Yeah, man, doesn't he just look like he's supposed to be a Minnesota Viking too for some odd reason? He just looked like it, but
yeah, the hair, the golden hair flowing out of that purple and gold helmet, it looks right.
Yeah, but my stud tight end for this week, I don't know how big of a stud he could really be. Maybe not like touchdown wise, but probably just because of production and targets. I think he'll get it. But that's Pat Freiermuth. I know he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 2, but no Chase Claypool.
I love Freiermuth.
Yeah,
no
Claypool.
You said Claypool. I think Freiermuth is the one who's going to benefit the most from Claypool's departure.
Yeah. So I don't know like how. If you could take 5 catches for 50 yards, I mean that's a win. You'll take that, and a touchdown will probably be even like an added bonus. So I mean, not saying like putting up big numbers, but just the fact that that the target should possibly be there for Freiermuth now that there's no Chase Claypool there.
Yeah, like I said, I absolutely love Pat Freiermuth this week and going forward as well. Just following up on the breaking news, it looks like Josh Allen has been named the starting quarterback for this week. So Yeah. So for those of you who have Josh Allen, play him. But again, adjust your expectations. But don't go and play Davis Mills instead
Yeah.
of him. uh, almost like I almost had to. So I am going to go with Greg Dulcich, tight end for the Denver Broncos. He's played 3 games so far in his NFL career. And again, we always have to have limited expectations for rookie tight ends. They seem to be it takes them the longest to get acclimated to the league, especially when you miss the first 5 games of the year due to injury. Greg Dulcich has played in 3 games in his NFL career and has been a tight end 1 in 3 games. He's in PPR. He's had at least 11 points in all 3 games. This is an offense that doesn't do a whole lot, but Russell Wilson has certainly seemed to find confidence in talking about another tight end with great hair. Greg Dulcich. He's got a little bit of the Weird Al Yankovic vibes going on, but Greg Dulcich right now, he's got as much upside as any tight end outside of Andrews and Kelsey and Goddard. Goddard, I think, right now has completely established himself as the number 3 tight end in fantasy football, with Kittle still not having to do as much because of all the weapons that they have now. Waller has been out. So Goddard has really taken over that top 3. Why not Dulcich? Why not? I think that there are there's plenty of hope in him going forward. All right, let's move on to our duds. Nate, quarterback, who you got?
Yeah, this is a guy we mentioned before we went on the air, and briefly in our best bets segment. I'm going Colt McCoy against on the road taking on the LA Rams, simply because, well, for one, Kyler Murray is hurt, and honestly, it seems like the Rams defense knows how to contain the quarterback. I mean, they only held Tom Brady and the Bucks offense to like 16 points last week. So, well, 16 total points, and I think Brady only scored like 15 points in fantasy. So, they know how to control the quarterback position.
Yeah. Again, right now, the only reason you're playing Colt McCoy is you're the Kyler Murray owner, and there's nobody else on the waiver wire. That's the only reason that you should be playing Colt McCoy. And even if that's like part of a super flex, there are even some wide receivers or running backs that I would consider playing over Colt McCoy. Should it be so? Remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago? I had said that it was the week of the first. I think it was the week of the first Panthers Falcons game. The week that Russell Wilson didn't play, and I said that I ended up playing Brett Rippon, but I was considering playing Deonta Foreman in my super flex. I played Rippon. I should have played Foreman because I lost with Rippon. If I had played Foreman, I would have won. So I should have taken my own on-air advice.
Well.
Yeah, quarterback duds. Who you got, Marthani?
My dud for this week, probably even now from now on, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, hasn't I don't think he's topped. I don't think he's even hit 20 points at all this season. From that I can remember. I mean, obviously he struggled mightily against Detroit last week, a team he's normally just going up and down the field on, regardless of who he's had in and out of the lineup. And now going against that Cowboys defense, they're, like I said, coming off their bye week. I think the only quarterbacks that they've had to even eclipse like 16 or 17 points was Justin Fields a couple weeks ago, and then Jalen Hurts. Other than that, they've been keeping every quarterback in check. Obviously, unless you just don't have anybody else at quarterback, even still, I feel like you might do better getting somebody off the waiver wire and replacing Aaron Rodgers. He's not your QB1 anymore. He shouldn't even be touching your starting lineup.
It's not only 20. In 6-point per passing touchdown leagues, he has not eclipsed 18 points yet
Jeez,
this year.
man.
And
That's
Wow.
wild.
he's only eclipsed 17 twice. I mean, he's just somebody that, and again, last week you couldn't have asked for a better matchup than what he had against the Lions, and he comes out with 16 and a half fantasy points.
Awful.
But what really hurt him most were those 3 interceptions, especially
Yeah,
one that got.
the three interceptions in the red zone was bad. They all, I mean, all of them were just. I'll give the one that Aiden Hutchinson got. I give him a little credit for making that play. That was kind of a heads up play because they tried to sneak out. I think they tried to sneak out Bakhtiari out from the tackle position to make him eligible to try to do it. I think that was a heads up play from Aiden Hutchinson, but the other ones were awful.
Yeah. All right. So my quarterback dud is going to be Justin Herbert. We've seen what he has, or really what he hasn't been able to do with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams out of the lineup. Josh Palmer has been fine. That's because of volume, but they just cannot move the ball on a consistent basis without those two explosive guys on the outside. Defenses are starting to load the box so that Austin Eckler cannot beat them. And these ancillary wide receivers for the Chargers just aren't doing the job. And now you're going up against one of the top defenses in the league with the 49ers. Again, it's going to be really tough to find a quarterback that you would want to play that's a streaming option over Justin Herbert. But I would look to do it if I could find the right matchup. Like, say if like Tua was out there, say if Trevor Lawrence was out there, I'd play either one of those over Justin Herbert this week. Dud running backs. We're gonna have to get hurry up a little bit because we are 10 minutes away from kickoff. So let's go with just the rest of your duds. So your wide receiver, running back, and tight end. Nate, who you got?
All right, so for the rest of my duds, my running back is Raheem Mostert, wide receiver Brandon Cooks, and then tight end. This one I was torn between 2, but I went with Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, with your running back, I'll just hop in real quick. Jeff Wilson would scare the living daylights out of me if I were a Raheem Mostert owner. I mean, they both came from the same system with the coach that the offensive coordinator there in San Fran is now the head coach for both of them in Miami. This would worry me if I were a Raheem Mostert owner. Who are the rest of your duds, Marthani?
My duds at running back, I'm going with Melvin Gordon. At wide receiver, I'm Michael Pittman Jr. And then at tight end, Robert Tonyan.
Yeah, I mean, Mel, how can you trust anybody in that Denver backfield right now? I mean, there's what 4? Oh no, because Boone's on injured reserve.
IR. Yeah.
But I mean, between Latavius Murray, between Melvin Gordon. Now they also bring in Chase Edmonds at the trading deadline. You cannot trust or start anybody out of that Denver backfield right now. It just you can't. You cannot do it with any sense of hope. My dud running back of the weekend, again, this pains me because I own him a lot, and that's Dameon Pierce. The Giants' front seven has been absolutely terrific this year. They're going to make Davis Mills try and beat them. They're not going to let Dameon Pierce beat them. I just, and it's tough because Dameon Pierce is going to, you have to start him in your season long leagues. This is more of a DFS fade because he's going to receive so many touches. I just don't see him being able to capitalize on those touches, and we haven't seen him be involved in the passing game. My dud wide receiver, and this is actually someone that I'm looking to trade anywhere I can. That's Debo. Debo Samuel. Last year, when he was the wide receiver 2 on the year, it was because he had over 20% of his total yards came on the ground, and over 57% of his touchdowns came on the ground. That's just not going to happen with Christian McCaffrey there now, and Elijah Mitchell is back this week. It's just they're just not going to utilize him the same way. Is he still going to get his yards? Yeah, he'll still get his yards. But last year they had a very injured and ineffective Brandon Ayuk. That's different this year. Ayuk has been very good. Kittle is there. He's healthy and he's able to produce. And Christian McCaffrey is the biggest reason why I am looking to trade Debo wherever I can. And then my dud tight end is going to be Zach Ertz. Again, the Rams are at the top of the list when it comes to defending the tight end, and I just don't trust Colt McCoy. All right, let's wrap it up with our sleepers. Run down your list for me, Nate. Who you got?
All right, so sleepers at QB is Andy Dalton, running back Khalil Herbert, wide receiver is Traquan Smith, and then tight end is Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, Dalton I actually have in a couple of my DFS lineups this week. He's cheaper than some quarterbacks who aren't even starting. And that was before all of these other question marks. Like I think like Baker Mayfield was more expensive than Andy Dalton this week because Baker came in the second half. So I think so Baker was more expensive than PJ Walker. So I think when the salaries were set, they were under the assumption that Baker was going to be the quarterback. So yeah, Dalton I think has a lot of cheap value, especially in DFS. Marthani, who you got as your sleepers?
My sleepers for the week at quarterback, I'm going with Jared Goff. Running back, I am going with Jeff Wilson. And at wide receiver and tight end, I'm both going with the Chicago Bears, Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet.
This is breaking news. Jay Glazer just reported that Ezekiel Elliott is going to be out for today. So fire up Tony Pollard wherever you got him. Yeah. Oh boy. So no Zeke, even though he did practice limited, but he got in 3 limited practices. It looks like they're just going to try and make sure that he's 100% before they put him out there. So it's fine because in one league I was I had Zeke. I have Ramondre and Joe Mixon as my two, which, I mean, I'd love that going forward. But obviously, they're both on buys this week. So I'm down to these A.J. Dillon, Zeke, Isaiah Pacheco, and Naheem Hines. So I ended up, I put in Dillon and Hines. I think Dillon can get more touches this week because of Aaron Jones not being 100%. And Hines, I think they're going to utilize the short passing game. So, yeah, it's a good thing I decided to put Hines in over Zeke. My sleepers of the week. So I have Jimmy Garoppolo, Naheem Hines, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Foster Moreau with Darren Waller going on IR, and also Hunter Renfrow going on IR. A lot of targets are going to be open. I would definitely be picking up Mac Hollins, and if you're in desperation mode, I think Foster Moreau is a good pickup for the tight ends. That is going to wrap it up for this week. Nate Marthani, thank you for joining us. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're clicking the bell so you know when we go live hopefully every weekend for the rest of the season. Guys, good luck today in your fantasy matchups, except Marthani in the Back Sports Page League, where I will be looking to kick your butt.
I've had a rough
because
year.
we've flip flopped from last year. Last year you had a great year in the league, and I couldn't do anything, and now I'm running away with this thing. I think I'm 8-1 in the league. So yeah,
including a win against me when I was 4-0, and now I've fallen off a cliff majorly.
There we go, baby. Got to represent somehow. Got to make it look like I know what I'm talking about. Guys, have a great week, and everyone, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.